That is the smell of the NBA playoffs. We are finally here, and it got off to a really good start, I would say, with the first two games. If you're not aware, I'm going to be doing about 2 post-game recaps a day, at least for the first round, of course. And we're starting off today with the 2 games being the Jazz Mavericks game and the Timberwolves versus Grizzlies game. So, I'm going to hold off on the Wolves-Grizzlies game, not just because that's technically the second game that was played today, but also because it was the most interesting, and thus I want to save it for last. Real quick, have to talk about Utah versus Dallas, and I say real quick because there isn't a ton to say. This was potentially going to be an interesting conversation because Utah almost blew a real opportunity here, but they ultimately came around and won the game. But there was a serious stretch of time there where it appeared as though the Dallas Mavericks, without Luka Doncic, were going to win this game. And even though the Utah Jazz did escape with the victory, it was a little bit questionable that this game went the way that it did, and makes you really hesitate on the Utah Jazz. Not that many of us were that big of believers in them to begin with. Granted, I will throw them this. Donovan Mitchell is not going to play this poorly under most circumstances. Other than the third quarter, he was horrible in this game, and I think he was better in the fourth, but still not good. He had 2 points in the first half. And he's not going to do that all the time. And their overall shooting, I don't know what their percentages were, but it did not feel like the 3 ball was going in. And as you well know, or at least you should, Utah is a very 3-point centric offense, and the shooting got so poor. Credit to them that they actually tried doing different things, one of which was posting up Bojan Bogdanovic. Bojan, or whichever one is, you know which one there's 2 different Bogdanoviches. The one that's on the Jazz had a lot of post opportunities, hit a really nice baseline jumper, had a really good post move on, I don't remember who, to close the first half. It was, not a nothing source of offense. Again, Donovan Mitchell had a really good third quarter. He had like 15, I think, in that quarter. Had a really nice dunk. Really what ended up being their saving grace was just that Dallas could not continue to find a source of offense in this one. Of course, Spencer Dinwiddie was fine. Jalen Brunson started off the game really well, but even though they are decent shot creators, those 2 being your leading shot creators is not an ideal situation. Dorian Finney-Smith did what he could offensively. He made a couple of nice passes, a really nice one to Reggie Bullock for a 3 that seemed like it was going to turn the tides of the game, and then Utah matched it. I mean, in theory, those 2 being your best shot creators, but then you get like a really good game from like Davis Bertans or Dorian Finney-Smith or something like that, maybe you could potentially overcome this team, but did not happen, especially as Utah's defense really cranked it up in the second half, especially from the contributions of Rudy Gobert, who pretty much was the only player in this game that I would say had a masterful game. Like everybody else probably played at their level or below. So that was good on him for doing that. His defense and his rebounding was very much felt, especially in that second half. And I'd just say I would chalk this up to Utah just having a really rough offensive night. And as much as I would love to spring on them for the fact that everyone loves to shit on the Utah Jazz, I mean, the Orlando Magic beat the 2019 Raptors in the first game of the playoffs. So the Jazz narrowly winning, I'm not going to be too concerned. Now, as for what that means for the rest of the series, I'm really unsure what to think of that series, just because Luka is going to miss this game and then is likely going to miss the second game as well. But as a whole, I am not too concerned for Utah to an extent. Like, I think they're going to win the game. They won this game without Luka, and if there's another game without Luka, I think they'll win that one as well. And if, this game was a negligible enough difference to where a 2 games just being handed to you at the start is equal to winning the series, then I think, they didn't waste that opportunity. That said, not the prettiest look from them today, but I am not too concerned, and I'm not going to clown on them like many people probably will. Let's move on to the Timberwolves versus Grizzlies game. These are two teams that I actually routinely confuse in my head, and not for any good reason. I mean, I guess Minnesota, Memphis, cities, or Minnesota is a state. So good job, Jacob. But it is in Minneapolis. Minnesota, Memphis, and then two woodland creatures as the mascots. Two really young teams and two really exciting teams. And that meant that this game was particularly exciting. Now, I expected this series to be good, and honestly, it might end up being the series to remember of the first round. But, yeah, I didn't expect it to be this great right out of the gate. If you didn't, I don't know what, if you did not know, you should know these things, even though, I guess, why are you watching these post-game recaps? I guess it's just to catch up on some details, but the Grizzlies lost this game. Even though they did put up a relatively good fight. I've said relatively like 15 fucking times in this commentary. The Timberwolves were really, really good in this game. Karl Anthony Towns was really, really good. Anthony Edwards was really, really good. D'Angelo Russell didn't really play all that well, although he did hit a really big three-pointer in the fourth quarter off of a questionable call. Not even a questionable call. It was the wrong call. Malik Beasley stepped out of bounds, and the ref did not call it. But this was a very, very good game from them, and I'm not, like, a lot of people maybe will see that the 7 seed beat the 2 seed and be like, wow, bad look for the 2 seed, but really, I don't think that the Grizzlies played bad. Other than Jaren Jackson Jr.'s foul trouble, which happens every other game for them anyways, there wasn't anything that really stood out as all too negative in this one to me. Ja Morant had himself a game, especially in the first quarter. He scored like half of their damn points, more than that even. And I think maybe Desmond Bain, I'll check the box score, because from what my eye test showed me, there was not anything particularly, I said particularly again, there was not anything that bad that Memphis did in this one from what I can tell. Dylan Brooks had himself a game. Yeah, Desmond Bain was 6 for 15, which is not great, but it's not terrible. Brandon Clark was really good off of the bench. Like, Memphis played fine. The Grizzlies yeah, the Timberwolves, see, I flipped them in my head. This is going to happen for my entire coverage. The Timberwolves played really, really damn well, and that ended up being the difference maker. Can we say, though, 36 points, along with 6 assists for Anthony Edwards in his rookie, he's not a rookie, but rookie playoff debut, his first time in the playoffs. 36 and 6, man, like on good efficiency, 4 for 11 from outside, got to the free throw line a lot. Played 40 minutes. Cat had himself a game. He had 3 assists, but I swear to God, the guy should have had 10. Like it was like if Cat passes it to you for a good shot, it means you're gonna miss. Patrick Beverley was cool. Malik Beasley had himself a really good game, even though when I was imagining the player who kept missing off of Cat passes, it was Malik Beasley. Jaden McDaniels hit a really big 3-pointer. Yeah, it was more just like the Timberwolves playing well more than the Grizzlies playing bad, because I think the Grizzlies played fine. And Anthony Edwards is awesome. Cat bounced back, of course, for that Clippers game where he played fucking awful, even though I do believe he brought a lot of value just from the fact that he was double-teamed a lot. It opened up offense for everybody else. But either way, yeah. I don't think there's a big takeaway. I think this is going to be a close series regardless. I think there are going to be a couple people who are surprised by how good the Timberwolves are. I'm not, especially because I knew how good they were surging into this year. They were like a 10-ish seed, if I'm not mistaken, on the calendar year. But they finally really got their footing, or they were at least like bordering out of the playoffs, but then they got like a clear separation to definitely being a playoff team, even though it ended up being in the play-in anyways. But yeah, Memphis is a better team than their record would indicate. And sorry, the Timberwolves are a better team than their record would indicate, and I think they can put up a fight versus Memphis in this series. I'm not going to give my full opinion on what I think that series is going to look like, because I'm going to be doing series previews on both of my channels, depending on which one I think deserves enough time and energy and all that. But yeah, I think a great start to the playoffs so far. And stay tuned for a commentary on the Sixers game. And I believe the last game of the day is Warriors versus Nuggets, and that it is. So stay tuned for that at the end of the day. And that is it. Goodbye.